What's up, guys? Back in the year 1442, thousands of boys from Transylvania were forced to be trained for the Turkish army. One of those boys grew up and became feared, being called Vlad the Impaler. Tormented by his monstrous actions, Vlad returned to Transylvania to rule in peace. In a stream near Transylvania, a Roman named Sultan finds a discarded Turkish helmet. Vlad, Prince of Wallachia and Transylvania, notices that it is a scout helmet, leading him to believe that the Turks intend to invade him. Since the helmet was found upstream, Vlad concludes that it came from Broken Tooth Mountain on the other side. He orders his men to prepare for battle while he searches for the Turkish camp to negotiate. Vlad takes 2 men to the mountain and searches for any signs of the Turks. Bats fly out from a cave, and Vlad realizes they were disturbed, so he enters to investigate. Inside the cave, they find ancient armor and crushed bones covering the ground. Something in the darkness devours one of his men and suddenly pulls him into the shadows. Vlad and his other soldier run, but the beast in the darkness takes his soldier as well. Vlad strikes the beast, but he is thrown away. He crawls out of the cave and reaches the sunlight. The monster stops and then retreats while its blood on Vlad's sword evaporates in the sunlight. Back at Castle Dracula, Vlad consults brother Lucian about the creature. Lucian tells the story of the vampire, a man who summoned the devil in exchange for power. The devil granted him that wish, but condemned him to live in darkness for all eternity. Vlad then visits his wife Mirena and his son Ingaras. They warmly greet him, but Mirena notices that something is troubling him. In their room, Mirena asks what attacked Vlad, and he says that it was wolves. He mourns his men and then tells her how he was sent to war when he was young. He wishes to never fight again. Mirena then reminds him that he is not safe at home either. The following day, their Easter banquet is interrupted when the Ottoman general Hamza Bey arrives. Vlad offers a chest full of silver coins as tribute to the Sultan, but Hamza Bey accuses him of murdering his scouts. Vlad denies it and then asks him to accept the tribute and leave. However, Hamza Bey happily announces that the Sultan demands 1,000 boys to serve in his army. The people of the town protest, but Hamza Bey continues recruiting the young boys for his army. When a father begs a Turkish soldier not to take his son, the soldier draws his blade to cut off the man's hand. Vlad immediately pushes the soldier against the wall. Hamza Bey reminds Vlad that he has no army, and therefore he has no choice but to obey. He then gathers his men and leaves with the tribute. Vlad's advisor, Kazan, pressures him to do whatever is necessary to protect his people. That night, Vlad admits to Ingaras that his father gave him away as a royal hostage to prove his loyalty to the Sultan, but he promises Ingaras that there is nothing to worry about. Even so, while alone with his wife, Vlad fears that hundreds will die if he tries to spare the boys. Mirena points out that Vlad and the Sultan were like brothers, so she advises him to ask for mercy. The next day, Vlad visits Sultan Mehmed II. The two drink together while remembering their younger days. Mehmed admits that his father was cruel, but praises Vlad for adapting to their culture. He then asks about the boys he demanded, insisting that he needs the soldiers. Vlad offers to spare the boys, but Mehmed refuses. He also demands to raise Ingaras just as Vlad was raised inside his palace. He assures Vlad that he may keep his throne, but Mehmed's general will supervise him. Vlad begs him to reconsider, but Mehmed simply advises him to have more children. Soon after, Vlad meets his family in a clearing to hand over his son to the Turks. Mirena condemns her husband, reminding him of his promise to protect their children before she married him. However, Kazan emphasizes that if they defy the Sultan, there will be war. As the soldiers approach, Vlad walks toward them, but lets his weapon fall to the ground so he will not antagonize them. Seeing his father's actions, Ingaras offers himself willingly, promising that he will survive just as Vlad survived. Vlad holds his son's hands while handing him over to Hamza Bey. Hamza Bey implies that he expected Vlad to resist more, making Vlad realize what he is giving up. Vlad whispers for Ingaras to run back to his mother. The moment Ingaras runs, Vlad quickly grabs Hamza Bey's sword and kills him, doing what any father that loves his son would do. Mirena protects her child while Vlad battles the Turkish soldiers alone. He easily kills the men, but he knows that many more will come. Kazan scolds the prince, but Vlad insists that a child should not be sacrificed for his country. He orders for his family to be protected inside the castle while he rides alone toward Broken Tooth Mountain. Vlad climbs the dark mountain and enters the cave. The vampire greets him, but Vlad cannot see him. The vampire says that no one has ever returned to him, and Vlad adds that no one has ever escaped either, considering the countless human bones spread across the cave. The vampire extinguishes Vlad's torch, causing Vlad to slash at the darkness with his sword. Finally, the vampire appears in front of him and throws the sword away. The creature watches him carefully, sensing hope inside him instead of fear. He then tells Vlad to hide his silver ring because it offends him. Vlad explains that the Turks are threatening his kingdom, so he desires the vampire's power in order to save his people and his family. The vampire sarcastically tells him to leave, but then reveals that he knows who Vlad is, calling him the son of the devil. Vlad corrects him, saying that his surname Dracula means dragon, not devil. Even so, the vampire taunts him about his bloody past, and then presses him against the wall. He asks Vlad what he felt while impaling thousands of men, and Vlad admits that he felt nothing. He justifies that he became a monster to create fear, something that satisfies the Turks and prevents them from taking more lives. The vampire wounds Vlad's neck and licks the blood. He tells Vlad that he does not know what it truly means to be a monster, but he will show him. The vampire explains that the one who transformed him condemned him to the cave, but Vlad will become his salvation. The vampire bites his own arm and pours blood into a chalice. He instructs Vlad to drink his blood, promising him great power if he does so. However, his thirst for human blood will become impossible to control. If Vlad manages to resist drinking blood for 3 days, he will become mortal again. But if he fails, he will transform completely, and the vampire will gain his freedom, take his revenge, and have Vlad as his servant. Even so, desperation forces Vlad to drink the blood. The vampire steps back while Vlad's body collapses and transforms. Vlad wakes up in the stream and finds his skin burning because of his silver ring. He removes it and tries to stand up, but a stone crumbles when he grabs it, injuring his hand. However, the wound heals instantly. He hears the tiny sounds of spiders and distant animals, and he sees the heat coming from every living creature in the forest. Vlad then retrieves his ring and places it on a chain to wear it as a necklace. Suddenly, he hears explosions in the distance. He immediately runs at maximum speed. He transforms into multiple bats before returning to his human form again, using that power to reach the castle faster. When he arrives, he finds his kingdom under attack. He reunites with his family and speaks to the terrified townspeople. He tells them that a good prince would have handed over their children to keep the peace, but he swears that he will not be defeated. Cannons destroy the castle walls, but Vlad faces the army alone. The soldiers charge forward, and Vlad runs toward them while revealing his fangs. Vlad fights the army by himself, killing the soldiers with an unimaginable and unstoppable strength in order to protect the people he loves. He grabs their weapons and slaughters his enemies, facing hundreds of men alone. Soon, the battlefield is empty except for Vlad and the bodies. His soldiers arrive, but there is no battle left to fight. Vlad tells his men not to question what he has done, but to trust that he intends to keep them safe. However, he knows that more armies will come. Because of that, he urges his people to move to the monastery of Kozia in the mountains. Along the way, they set up camp. Vlad becomes tempted when he sees his men eating. He retreats to the tent where Mirena is waiting for him. The couple kisses and begins to get intimate, but Vlad becomes tempted by her blood. He pulls away from her and leaves. Outside, he finds Skelion following him through the forest. Skelion claims that he is following the bats instead of following Vlad. He raises a knife, knowing that Vlad has transformed. But instead of attacking him, Skelion cuts his own hand, offering blood and asking to become Vlad's servant. Vlad pushes away the offering of blood and warns Skelion to stay away from him. The next day, Mehmed arrives at the battlefield and sees the soldiers impaled on spears. Meanwhile, Mirena wakes up and sees Vlad hunched over. She checks on him and finds him shirtless, with a silver ring burning his chest. Vlad wakes up, and Mirena becomes frightened when she notices that all of his battle scars have disappeared. Vlad confesses that he became the monster from the mountain, and to prove it, he allows the sunlight to burn his skin. Mirena pulls him away from the light and asks why he did that. Vlad states that he did it to save his son, and promises that he will return to normal in 2 days if he resists the thirst. Vlad tells Mirena to take the townspeople to the monastery while he holds off Mehmed. Vlad waits until sunset before transforming into bats to search for the Sultan's men. However, Mehmed's soldiers ambush the townspeople during the journey. As the battle takes place, one of Vlad's men, Dumitru, takes Mirena and Ingaras to a safe place, but they become trapped. Dumitru fights against the soldier to protect them and is mortally wounded. Mirena tells Ingaras to run, but before the soldier can attack, the bats distract him. When he steps back near the cliff, Vlad appears in his monstrous form, causing the soldier to fall. Dumitru crawls away in fear after seeing Vlad, but Vlad comforts him until he dies. Dumitru's blood tempts Vlad, but he resists after hearing his son's screams. Eventually, the townspeople arrive at the monastery. When they arrive, Kazan scolds Vlad for leaving. However, Vlad silences him and fiercely tells his people to stop praying because prayers will not protect them. Instead, he prepares them for battle. Meanwhile, Mehmed hears the rumors that Vlad has become a monster, but he remains confident that Vlad can still be defeated. Soon, he marches his army toward the monastery. Inside the monastery, Lucian notices that Vlad is avoiding the sunlight, and realizing what he has become, he follows him to the forge while holding a silver sword. Lucian offers to kill Vlad so that he may repent, but Vlad refuses. Lucian cuts open the tent, showing the people how the sunlight burns Vlad's skin. The people scream in fear, while their prince hides in the shadows. Soon, they begin demanding his death while Mirena desperately begs them to spare him. The soldiers set the tent on fire while Vlad remains inside. Mirena and Ingaras are dragged away from the scene. Suddenly, a growl coming from inside silences the crowd. Mirena brings Ingaras closer while preparing to face her husband as he walks out from the flames of the burning tent. Vlad scolds the people for their disloyalty, reminding them that they survived because of his sacrifice. Mirena calms him down. Vlad then orders his people to prepare for battle before storming away furiously. Vlad enters the church to pray for strength to resist becoming a complete monster. Ingaras walks in and offers him bread so that he may feel better. Vlad shares the bread with his son and says that he will become a great leader because he cares about others. Ingaras reminds him that Vlad stopped the Turks from taking him away and believes that is why he transformed. Vlad admits it and assures his son that he would do it again if necessary. That night, Vlad sees the enemy army from a distance. He worries that he may not finish the war before sunrise, when he will lose his power. Mirena promises to fight beside him until the end. She assures him that they did everything they could to protect the kingdom's children. She reminds him of their wedding vows, a poem about love transcending time and life itself. The couple finds comfort in each other's arms while their enemy approaches. Soon, the Ottoman army arrives. Vlad notices bats flying toward the tower and discovers that he can control them. Thousands of bats gather around the monastery under his command, and when he sees Mehmed among the army, he sends the bats to attack. The bats crash into the soldiers, knocking them down and biting them. Vlad then gathers the bats once again and throws them against the soldiers. Mehmed is knocked off his horse while Vlad arrives at the battlefield. However, when Vlad moves in to attack, he realizes that an imposter is wearing the Sultan's armor. Behind Vlad, soldiers from a small group infiltrate the monastery while using the frontline battle as a distraction. 3 soldiers reach Mirena's chamber. She and Ingaras flee, climbing the tower only to face Mehmed's men. Meanwhile, Vlad finds Mehmed disguised in a soldier's armor. One of the soldiers punches Mirena, causing her to slip toward the cliff. After hearing her scream, Vlad transforms into bats and rushes toward her. The Turks take Ingaras away while Mirena desperately hangs on. Vlad throws the last soldier from the tower, but Mirena loses her grip and falls. Vlad jumps after her in desperation to reach her. Mehmed rides away with Ingaras on horseback, while the boy watches his mother falling before Vlad can catch her. Vlad embraces Mirena while she opens her eyes and sees the sun rising. Knowing that Vlad's powers will soon disappear, Mirena tells him to drink her blood, become a complete vampire, and save their son. Vlad refuses to take her life, but Mirena knows she is dying and only wishes to save her child. She begs him to drink her blood, and Vlad cries while his fangs emerge. He drinks Mirena's blood, transforming into a complete vampire while also freeing the one who transformed him. When Vlad returns to the monastery, he finds a soldier still alive. He forces the man to drink his blood and transform. Vlad sees a few more survivors and retrieves the dragon armor from the days when he was known as the Impaler. While burying his wife, Vlad swears that he will save his son. At the Ottoman army camp, a violent lightning storm approaches. Vlad arrives with a small army of vampires taking revenge against the army. The vampire Kazan captures Mehmed's general and drinks his blood. Mehmed's assassin finds Vlad, but Vlad impales him onto a post where a female vampire feeds on him. Vlad walks toward the Sultan's tent and confronts Mehmed, who stands on top of silver coins while wielding a silver sword. Ingaras, tied up nearby, watches as his father and the Sultan fight. Because of the silver, Vlad struggles and is thrown onto the ground that burns his skin. Mehmed mocks him while Vlad weakens during the battle. Mehmed tears open more bags of silver and pours the coins over Vlad. This allows him to pin the vampire down and brutally beat him. Ingaras struggles against his chains and begs for his father's life. Enraged, the Sultan grabs a broken piece of wood to drive through Vlad's heart, but Vlad manages to block the attack. He then transforms into bats and quickly reforms himself. Vlad stabs Mehmed and declares that now he is Dracula, the son of the devil. Moments later, he kills the Sultan by biting into his neck. Vlad carries his son outside where his vampire army gathers around them. Kazan is pleased with his new power and announces that there are no humans left alive except for Ingaras. Suddenly, the vampires surround them, while Kazan suggests that Vlad's son is only a distraction. Kazan moves to attack Ingaras, but Vlad stabs him. Kazan disintegrates before them, while Vlad protects his son from the other vampires. At that moment, Lucian arrives holding a sacred cross that the vampires fear. He begs Vlad to give him the child, knowing that the monk can protect him. Vlad tells Ingaras to leave. Through tears, he expresses his love for his son before pushing him into the monk's arms. Lucian retreats while Ingaras continues screaming for his father. Accepting his fate, Vlad looks toward the skies as the clouds open and pour sunlight over the vampires. The vampires burn, and Vlad screams while perishing with them. Soon after, Ingaras is crowned the new prince of Wallachia, but he mourns because his father will never be remembered as the hero he truly was. Without anyone knowing, Skellion finds Vlad's body inside the Ottoman camp and offers his blood to him, reviving the vampire. Centuries pass, and Vlad walks through modern London, where he notices a woman who looks exactly like Morena. He catches her attention by reciting the poem from their wedding vows. The woman says that it is her favorite poem and introduces herself as Mina. Soon, the two decide to have coffee together nearby. While not far from them, the vampire who transformed Vlad watches the couple flirting. The creature then decides to follow them, planning something mysterious, because as he said centuries ago, Vlad now belongs to him. That was full movie recaps. See you in the next video.